and gentlemen, welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License, flight number 70, with service to ancient Greece. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember, on today's flight, if a fellow passenger is charging towards you while wailing and flinging around a metal flying ring, we recommend taking cover immediately. Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Max Singer and Rich Inman. How are you boys doing today?
Oh, I'm fantastic, Jeff. I'm just so relieved that Emmy season is finally over so we can get ready for the Emmys again in a couple of months.
Wait, are we doing two Emmys?
Yeah, it's a 2 Emmy year.
What?
Emmy and then other Emmy. And then
yeah, I think we should explain. So the Emmys were on Monday, January 15th, that classic time slot of Monday nights on Fox. And this was because they usually are in September because of the old, outdated network TV calendar when new shows would premiere in the fall. Got delayed for 4 months because of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes into January. So that meant that shows that aired between June 1st of 2022 and May 31st of 2023 were eligible, but then the 23-24 Emmys will air again in less than 8 months.
This is like my parents trying to sign me up for youth hockey and wondering
when does it end?
Division I'm going to be.
Will there be more than 3 shows at the Emmys in 8 months from now? Because apparently the only things that aired last year were Secession, Beef, and The Bear.
Oh.
Farmer Wants a Wife is getting all the Emmys. I don't know what you're talking about.
If Fox keeps it again for September, they will.
Guys, we have a month to put a show in the air.
Well, boys, I am super excited to be talking about a little bit of a blast from the past of the 90s with Xena Warrior Princess, an Emmy, a primetime Emmy award-winning show that I can't wait to talk about with both of
Jeff, I actually watched the John Travolta produced Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh,
did I watch the right thing?
Well, Rich, I'm gonna say bye.
Guys, I watched the DCOM Disney Channel original movie Xenon Girl of the 21st Century.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Jeff's going to talk about Xena. I'm going to talk about Xenu. Max going to talk about Xenon.
Yeah, weirdly, all of them have a head fighting scene that I can't wait to talk about in depth.
And this episode is brought to you by Xerox.
Oh my god. Well, Max, do you mind telling folks what this podcast is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn a little bit more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, and if they could be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes wherever you get podcasts from. Check us out on YouTube to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
Max, thanks for that explanation. Rich, what is your question of the week?
Well, normally I give you guys a smidge of time to prepare, just pulling the curtain back a little bit for a specific answer. But I want to know the election. It's 2024 is an election year. Could Xena Warrior Princess shatter the ultimate glass ceiling and become the first woman president of the United States, ignoring the fact that she lives in ancient Greece?
I mean, fuck yeah. I would 100%, I would 100% want to see Xena on stage as an independent candidate debating Donald Trump and Dark Brandon.
Bold assumption that she would be a Democrat.
Yeah, two reoccurring villains of the Xena universe, Dark Brandon and Donald Trump.
Yes, 100%. I mean, yeah, no, in all honesty, America loves a redemption arc. Right. Yeah. We really do. And even though Xena would be the first non-native president breaking the Constitution soundedly, I think that, with a little bit of wailing, as well as, just throwing around that metal disc that she has, we could have our first female president. Max, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that Princess is in her official title, I feel like Xena would be a break from the American plutocracy that we've been seeing over, a long period of time. We also take out the fact that Lucy Lawless is from New Zealand and would therefore not be eligible, but Xena Warrior Princess may be.
I would also just say that the fact that she had a rumor spilled that she burned an entire village would only help her in the polls in this country. So I'm thinking, yes, Xena's Xena 2024.
Well, yeah, no, that I think we're all aboard. We're all
We all
aboard.
had dark answers except for Geoff.
Let's, you know what? If you're an avid listener, don't do this, but write in Xena as your presidential candidate and see how good it does. Yeah. But Rich, thank you for that question of the week. Let's dive a little bit deeper into Xena, and we're going to start off with a quick synopsis. Xena, a mighty warrior princess with a dark past, sets out to redeem herself. She is joined by small-town bard Gabriel. Together, they journey the ancient world and fight for the greater good against ruthless warlords and gods. We saw part of that in this pilot, but Max, how the hell did this show get made?
So today we are talking about the Olivia Newton-John roller skating musical extravaganza Xanadu. We are talking about the pilot episode of Xena Warrior Princess titled Sins in the Past, which originally aired on September 4th, 1995 in syndication. And we're talking about the show's creator, Rob Tappert, a little bit. So Tappert is a producer of film and TV and was college roommates at Michigan State with a student named Ivan Raimi, brother of legendary writer-director Sam Raimi. Through Ivan, he becomes friends with Sam and a young actor friend of Sam's named Bruce Campbell. Tappert helps Raimi with their short films, and in 1981 serves as producer on Raimi's feature debut, The Evil Dead. Along with Raimi's films, the two serve as producers on a variety of syndicated action-adventure series, the most notable of which up to this point is called Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. One of the villains in The Legendary Journeys is Xena, a character conceived by Tappert who was originally written to die in Season 1, but quickly becomes a fan favorite, resulting in a heel turn to work alongside Hercules and being eyed for a spin-off series of their own. Funny enough, Xena Lucy Lawless played two different roles on Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, but was cast as Xena after the original actress Vanessa Angel fell ill and was unable to travel to New Zealand where filming took place, and Lucy Lawless was a resident. So because she was a local hire, she got the part. They were filming this during American pilot season, and they couldn't find any actresses or their teams willing to have someone travel to New Zealand for a 3-episode arc. And that 3-episode arc turned into so much more, with this show being sold to networks around the world in syndication. So, gentlemen, let's grab our swords, saddle up, and ride into today's episode.
I need to talk about how Vanessa Angel of Kingpin, the movie, one of my favorite bowling movies of all time, was supposed to be.
Yeah, we're going Fairly Boys on this.
Was supposed to be Xena Warrior Princess in an alternative universe where her immune system is slightly better.
I also just love that. This is why I love TV so much, because it's like the people who make it are completely insane. You could just retcon Greek mythology because one character tested really well in a focus group. Like completely changing. Like, was Xena like a real, like, mythological person? Like, is Xena in any of the Greek?
No,
mythology?
this is a character conceived to be a female antagonist in a 90s syndicated action series.
Well, I am genuinely curious from both of your perspective. As a kid growing up in the 90s, I fondly remember that everyone was super into like Greek mythology for like a couple of years with, I think,
you just took a class.
No. It all kicked off with Disney's musical Hercules, which is, I will say to this day, the best Disney musical. Fight me.
Geoff, I do think you're onto something, though, because, ancient Greece did come before the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that, we're onto that now.
This ancient Greek mythology was my Roman Empire. I still think about it to this day.
God damn it.
But let's dive into Xena in the idea of, I have found a new love for cold opens to shows that we watch that are so insanely long that you don't think they're a cold open, but somehow then we get the most amazing intro of all time. This cold open is no fucking exception at all, in that we just see Lucy Lawless riding through a village, but that she happened to pillage. Which
In the past.
I have so much respect for a period piece that in its first 30 seconds just says fuck it to like continuity and any accuracy. Because this show opens, we're in ancient Greece and the bagpipes are bagpiping, the pipes they are calling.
Yeah.
Her bangs are absolutely styled and sitting there. There is just no attempt
Here's
at
the thing
making
about
this
ancient
look
Greece,
like ancient
Max.
Greece.
It's in the Scottish Highlands and filmed in New Zealand.
Exactly. Yeah, no, like, and I think that one of my favorite tropes seems in like the history of film is if you are filming a show about ancient Greece or ancient Rome, if it is in ancient Rome, you have a British accent. If it is in ancient Greece, you have an American accent, even if you are from New Zealand.
Watching Xena made me realize how much we've been ruined by this peak TV era of the last 25-ish years, because this entire show, everyone speaks in just 1995 American accents.
Yeah.
We get all of these ancient Greek phrases like totally and gives me the creeps. And get 'em Xena, just real classic ancient Greek.
I can see all of those just carved into a wall somewhere, carved into a tablet to tell the story.
Yeah, you see like the original tablets of Homer's The Odyssey, and it's like totally, dude.
So
and Xena said, "Suck it, dudes."
So have you, like, I do find it like they tried to open it as seriously as possible of being like, okay, so obviously anyone who's watching this pilot loves the Hercules, the TV show, knows that Xena was the heel that, as Max said, had a turn of heart. But then for our opening scene to be Xena talking to a child whose family she straight up murdered, and then proceeds to give that child as like a forgive me gift the largest hunk of cheese I have ever seen in my damn life, is
yes,
one of the wildest
ancient
things.
Greek food, half a wheel of brie.
Well, yeah, what was that? I truly can you carry cheese around on a horse like that all day? Is that like a thing that you can do?
It's not pasteurized, so it's safe.
Max, the three of us, you've taken your food safety exam the most.
They filmed this in like January in New Zealand, which is summer too. So that's summer cheese.
That's some hot horse brie.
But I think that as we move forward, we start to see the quintessential concept of this show, right? Which is it's an action adventure fantasy. And we start to see Lucy Lawless just straight up beat the shit out of a group of marauders that, one, have the most fantastic hairdos I have ever seen in my lifetime. But two, by the creation of what I like to call camera choreography, we're just absolutely beats the scum out of, 20 guys at least by herself.
Yeah. Let's talk about how I would say D-list is aggressively generous in this sense of how like the quality of this fight choreography.
Yeah, Thelma Schumacher is not walking into that editing bay anytime soon.
Yeah, like we've had like incredible martial arts movies at this point. There's no reason that we couldn't have done better in this unless there's like no stage combat experts in New Zealand at all.
And what I would say is that as we, later in this pilot, there is actually one combat scene that I said, you know what? This is clever. This is fun. There's a smart angle on it to make it a little bit more exciting than it could have been. But this one just sort of seemed, okay, like Xena is going to beat up this group of people. I learned a new word during the scene because I don't know about you guys, but I like to watch closed captions when I watch TV. And I did not know the word ululate. which is also a synonym for wailing. That is not the last time I will use that, because I forgot that Xena does a...
she has a warrior call.
Yeah, no, I would actually like to see both of your impressions of Xena's warrior call. I'm putting you on the spot. Yes, I am.
We're not ululating on the podcast.
No, it's ululating.
We're not ululating, ovulating. We're not doing any of those things on the pod.
But Xena beats the crap out of these guys. We meet sort of one of our soon-to-be characters, and then we get one of the most insane narrated intros I have ever seen in my damn fucking life.
Oh my god, we got the movie trailer voice guy to do the opening monologue, are we gonna call it?
Yeah, no, my question is that before every single episode? Because then I am getting so hyped before every episode.
It felt like they made this pilot before they even sold it into syndication and had to like have the sales pitch in the episode. Like, look at all the actions and adventures you'll get when you purchase Xena.
Yeah, it's like it does read like the end of like a G.I. Joe thing of like to learn more about Snake.
I just have written down the power, the passion, the danger. Yeah. Xena, Warrior Princess.
Yeah, I definitely saw this.
I got really horny during the passion part.
Yeah, her courage will change the world was like that last line, and I was like, oh.
This actually feels like when you had like the big plastic like Disney VHS tape, and it's like coming soon to Disney.
So after this amazing intro, we get to see one of our characters, and like we sort of meet a multitude of people that one is going to be a continuing, one is just our villain of the week, because that was like a big thing in the 90s. You have these like villain or case of the week shows with the continuing hero. If you want to look for like sort of that modern equivalent, I would almost say if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, this is where that sort of came from, that Western inspired of like, oh, there's a new bad guy who came into town and the Lone Ranger is going to solve it all by himself.
$200 million less.
Yes, exactly. But I have been waiting for this question. I watched this pilot with you two in mind with this question. What do we think of Gabrielle and the way her dialogue was written entirely separately from how this show was written as a whole?
Well, everyone's dialogue is written separately as a whole. Like there's no one's who's like vernacular matches up. There's all these different regional dialogues. Gabrielle is just this 1990s like kind of like bratty, sporty Valley girl. I do think that she's a great character, just not in this. There's also I don't know, wherever the place that Gabrielle is living when we first meet her, there is a girl living there who has a line where the thickest Chicago accent jumps out, and she just asks Gabrielle, "What's in the bag?"
Oh, you want to talk about wheels of cheese as gifts involved?
Yeah, she's from the intersection. She's from the intersection of Macedonia and Pulaski.
Jesus. Yeah, I just like I couldn't get past. I really could not get past the near Skinamax level acting that we're being subjected to here.
And we haven't even gotten to our villain yet.
Yeah,
I can't wait to talk about our villain, because I recognized our villain from something else, and I can't wait to talk about it. But I think that the thing that I found so interesting is, you know, you have Lucy Lawless, who is this strong badass on TV, who has taken ownership of this character completely, of like heroine chic, right? Of like, I can fucking rule the stage. I'm ruling every scene that I'm in. And then as soon as I realized, oh fuck, Gabrielle's gonna be the sidekick, like I was just like, this seems like it was a lost character from Clueless, the TV show, that like they somehow mixed up the scripts together.
Oh man, great reference.
She reads a little like Little House on the Prairie to me. Maybe it's because her dress. Yeah, it's just like it's a little too Waltons. It's a little too like what's the show with John Boy? Is that the Waltons?
Yeah,
I think it's the Waltons.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
But
it just reads a little too much like 50s like family values TV to me.
and to have this scene, this like Little House on the Prairie scene where we have Gabrielle being like, I'm not going to marry that asshole, and I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to go and follow Xena. And then we see the nutso-ness of the Drake meeting Draco, our villain of the week, who is just like basically picking out warriors by seeing who can shoot at him and hit him while he's catching the other arrows. It's just bonkers.
Yeah.
It's so bonkers.
In example number 27 already of just no one's bothered with historical accuracy, this guy's got the raddest 90s goatee I've ever seen.
Yeah, this dude could be the bass player, no doubt, tomorrow.
So the actor who plays this, because I saw this actor and I was like, where do I know this from? Like, I recognize this man. So I had to pause the TV, to which my wife was very upset because she was getting invested in Xena. And then I realized that,
come on, because none of us did.
oh my God. But I realized the actor's name is Jay Lagaya. And he has actually been in all of the prequel Star Wars movies and I was just like, oh my God, my guy, like, so excited to see you. But I genuinely think that this actor was the only one who read this script and was like, I know what we're fucking doing here. I 100% get what we are here to do. And that is, I'm going to eat all of the fucking scenery. I am going to just ham this shit up and be like cartoonish levels of villainous. But like, I really genuinely appreciated it. I was like, all right, my guy, like, you know, Lucy Lawless is playing this straight as straight as one can be. She's like doing her choreography, but then we have this guy and he's just like, I'm here. I'm going to act big and people are going to fucking love me for it each and every time.
So, okay. So this character read very cartoonish to me. Like you mentioned, is what would you guys say is the target demographic of Xena? Because for me, I thought it was like a teen and adult show, and it's like with the level of acting, it's reading very kid show.
It feels like so many things at once. It's like, so you get a villain like Draco, who to me really reminds me of like the evil master in like a old like B karate movie kind of thing. Who uses, the evil forbidden techniques to, gain control over a realm or a kingdom. But yeah, Rich, I agree. It's like, it's trying to be this 90s teen soapy stylized thing, but the dialogue is super, super basic level. I don't know. It's so many things at once, but I love that we get this kind of like, yeah, I don't know, karate B movie villain.
So that's a great question, Rich, because it aired on all of the channels. It was a syndicated hit. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Bring back the 80s and 90s syndicated TV drama, because like those things were hits, and I think the rates are so high because they were just on more channels than any other ones. But it's like You've got this. You've got like Star Trek Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. You've got Baywatch, like all of these shows that ran in the 90s that were mammoth hits and huge cultural phenomenons that did not air on the same day, times, channel, anywhere nationwide, and just found these audiences. And that's a completely dead part of TV now.
I genuinely think both of you are going to be very upset when I talk about the history of this show. Like, just like you might leave. I might have to end this podcast myself and do Rich's Game of the Week, just me talking to myself. But Rich, I think sort of to answer your question, and I think this is a one-size-fits-all show for a couple of reasons. Up until this point, even though there has been a lot of fighting, right, a lot of use of weaponry, we have seen no one die, right? We have seen allusions to the concept of someone die, but we haven't seen anyone die yet. And then we also get one of the wildest scenes I have ever seen, which was the blind Cyclops scene.
That freaked me out.
Which was wild. Just
Yeah.
I
like
spent the entire time trying to figure out how they filmed this. I'm like, is it they're filming all of the Xena stuff first, and then they're filming his stuff, and they're kind of splicing the footage together?
Was this a Parent Trap situation? Was this a like
Is it
Lord of the
perspective?
Rings situation?
Is she just standing really far away and they angled the camera correctly?
I think it's perspective. That's so, like, it just looks like she's in almost another room when they interact with each other.
But like, even while this scene was wild, I do have a question for you. Do I not know about the history of bridges in Greece being like shoddy? Because everyone was scared shitless crossing that bridge, and I don't I'm racking my brain
It looks
as to
pretty
why.
secure. It is
Yeah.
a very low, well-built, lovely bridge over a small creek at best.
Also, you can't just like tease that the bridge is weak and then the bridge doesn't collapse. You know what I mean? Like, someone's got to go through that thing.
There's no allusion to it being weak either. Like, we don't even get like that, like, oh, like, you know, we see the wood fall or something like that, and like, oh, you might fall a foot. I did like jokingly say before the Cyclops went up, I was like, if there's not a fucking goblin or troll underneath this bridge, I'm gonna be upset, because you can't like be so scared of bridges. But then I got a blind Cyclops, and I was like, what
The
a goddamn
Cyclops
delight!
fight has the weirdest ending to a fight scene I think I've ever seen before. I have never seen a fight scene that ends in the villain making their pants fall down and then they trip over themselves, and that's how they lose.
See, this is what led me to think that this is for kids, because the violence in this, like the blinding aspect of it, definitely not for kids. That would freak me the hell out if I was a child. Freak me out as a 33-year-old man. But it was like, I don't think that it was what, like, I still cannot tell who this is for. And I can't, it really feels like they made a Skinamax TV show and then removed all the sex from it.
Yeah, and I just want to thank the ancient Greeks. I did not know nylon boxer briefs were their invention, and you know what? I'm very thankful for you.
Now you know.
Because when that giant's pants fell down, and I was like, oh, those are very form-fitting boxer briefs.
Well, it's like that it's like that old jingle from ancient Greece where it's like, look who we got our Hades on now.
Oh, boo.
But you know, to speak a little bit to the plot that we've been avoiding, we find out we find out that Xena has basically told Draco to fuck off. She is off to go back home. She doesn't want to have any interaction with him. She's out of the game, even though he's saying that they could rule ancient Greece together. And while Gabrielle's
pretty much just copies the dialogue from Empire Strikes Back of like, join me and together we shall rule.
Yeah.
And from there, though, we find out that Gabrielle wants to be with Xena, even though Xena is refusing. And then Draco's having his men follow just because he's like, yeah, fuck that. I'm going to go and pillage Xena's village. That is not a sexual euphemism. And make sure that...
in a violent way.
And make sure that her people hate her so much she has to join me.
I'll tell you what is a sexual euphemism, though, is when Gabrielle encounters the same Cyclops, and she says to the Cyclops, Xena would never let a man get that close to do her, at least not that kind to do her.
Yeah. Again, they're bouncing back and forth between audiences so rapidly. Like,
yeah, it's really weird essentially hearing Jan Brady make a sex joke.
I'm trying so hard to make a Marsha pun right now.
So from here, like, a few things happen that I want to just speak to. Xena basically is not welcomed home. It sounds like basically everyone is just like, oh, you're bad news. Her mom even tells her to fuck off. Her mom has an entirely different accent than Xena does. So I'd like to know where that accent is from.
What is the most jarring regional accent that this show could have an actor speak in?
I'm thinking like a Delco Philadelphia accent.
I'm just telling you, if someone had a Minnesotan accent, I would lose my damn mind.
Yeah, I see people popping up like they're from both Fargo and Mayor of Easttown in this show.
I want a Louisiana Cajun accent in this. I feel like that would really bring everything to a cohesive point.
There was one other thing that happened in these tavern scenes that was absolutely insane, though. So Draco's men are basically, trying to insinuate that Xena is putting up a farce. She's pillaging the village herself. She's having men burn fields and all this stuff. Did you guys catch the wild ADR and voiceovers that were just in the background that were not the same sounding at all? Where it was just like, yeah, get out. Yeah, we don't want you here.
Oh, there's like a repeating "Get 'em, Xena" at one point in a fight scene that I hear the same thing. And that's just dubbed on a loop. It's just "Get 'em, Xena, get 'em, Xena, get 'em, Xena."
They didn't even record that with good acting.
Not even the horse is a good actor.
He won't go over the damn bridge.
Oh, yeah, that horse, that was a hard day. That wasn't even the bridge was bad. It was just the horse was having a hard time.
Can't believe they got a non-union. They got a non-union horse.
So a couple other things happen. We find out that Xena's brother is dead when she visits his tomb. This is sort of that meeting of Gabrielle and Xena where she realizes, like, hey, Xena maybe turned because she realized her brother was a good person. She was not. And then we finally get the big clash between Draco and Xena, that the circumstances of this are insane.
Okay, I'm really excited to talk about this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but before we get to this, the Gabrielle getting to Xena's hometown, she has a line where she says, "You don't know me, I'm new in town," and I cannot hear that as anything but John Mulaney.
Tell me 3 other things about you, Gabrielle.
Oh my gosh!
And I do want to say I'm going to have a little sidebar here with the audience. Welcome to Rich's narcolepsy corner. Rich has a thing where he needs to prepare for this for these episodes as close to the episode date as possible, so he remembers everything. What that means is sometimes I watch these shows at 10 p.m. at night, and what I found is that I fell asleep at this exact moment. And
Rich!
And did not feel compelled to go back and watch what I missed. I did watch the end of the episode, but thank you so much for subscribing to Rich's Narcolepsy's Corner, brought to you by Celestial Seasonings.
Oh my. So, Max, this fight scene I sort of alluded to earlier, and the idea that I thought this was the most compelling
ask Max about it.
That we got, in the sense that Draco confronts Xena. They're in Mom's pub, we'll call it, because she's Irish. And
what a melting pot Ancient Greece was.
Xena O'Halligan.
And then they decide, hey, we are going to fight to the death. You either die based off of combat, or you die because you hit the ground.
I have never seen an evil army so politely open a door to enter a building before. They just like anyone home, and just gotta like politely show themselves in. Like, they take their shoes off. They want to make sure it's okay with everyone first.
Yeah, the Trojan horse was immaculately kept inside.
But we get it seems like a very traditional duel in the sense that Draco picks the weaponry, Xena picks where they're doing it, and then we proceed to get something that I never thought I'd have written on my notes, which is head choreography. Because there is a moment, Rich, I don't know if you watched this part, where they are fighting on the heads of the patrons that are at the bar, in a world where the human head is capable of staying straight while full-grown adults are standing on them.
Yeah, they didn't teach you that one in Jerry Maguire that came out the same year. But Rich, for context and for audience context, they're going to have a fight to the death using staffs on the scaffolding up above. The scaffolding starts to break, but the rule is whoever touches the floor first loses and dies. But if you're standing on top of people's heads and keeping your balance, you have not touched the floor, and therein lies the loophole. I feel like Xena's one of those old action shows where they have to have a reoccurring bit of when you know that things are going to get serious, like when there's the all is lost moment, and then they find the strength to push through that. And for Xena, because it happens twice in fights, it's she does like 3 flips through the air and does her battle cry. And when you hear her hit you with that, you know shit's going down.
Oh yeah, that's her power up. That's 100% like if you ever played like Mortal Kombat or anything, you're gonna die.
Yeah,
when
that's the finishing move right there.
That is her finisher, and like
that's the ultimate smash in Smash Bros. That's the finishing move. That's all those things.
I just love her death frisbee. That's my favorite. That's my favorite move.
Oh yeah, we played a lot of that in New England growing up.
The thing that I found interesting in this fight, though, was there was that constant, like, slight reminder, and I don't know if it was meant to be out of comedy, I don't know if it was meant to be dramatic, but, like, every time someone got, like, close to the floor, because there were some close calls, and they would show these 2 archers just, like, draw their strings with like some of the greatest ADR like bow tension pulling I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, why are all the sound effects very cartoonish? Is that part of it? Is that part of like the why people love it?
You didn't know that's a big thing in ancient Greece? People only made cartoon sounds.
Oh yeah.
But we get Xena uses her power up. She lands on top of Draco, and then Draco fucks off for now, is the big thing.
Oh, man, you're leaving out my favorite part of this entire episode. Xena agrees. He doesn't just fuck off. Xena agrees to spare his life, that he won't die if he leaves the valley and never comes back. And there's a featured extra somewhere in the background. There is a peasant who, in the most monotone, deadpan delivery, goes, "No deal, kill him." Who is my favorite character? If unnamed villager in the Xena pilot is listening to this, please identify yourself. You have my favorite line reading of maybe any show we've done on this podcast.
But then, after this win, after Xena makes amends, it seems like, with her family and with the people she grew up with and, was a nuisance to, she rides off into the sunset with Gabrielle. And that is the end of our pilot. I'm genuinely so excited to ask you both this. Any things that you loved about this pilot that maybe we did not discuss?
Yeah, there's a scene where we're in the New Zealand countryside and Xena's on her horse and we see a rainbow in the sky, and that was really pretty.
Rich, what about you?
Okay, I think it's nice that this has like such a strong fandom behind it, because there are so many things going against this show, and I am very excited to learn more about the history of it. I know the universe expands quite a bit. They get a bunch of new actors and a bunch of people that stop by through ancient Greece or wherever the hell they're going to end up fighting. I'm just very, I think people falling for this extremely improbable piece of material is exciting, I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen people get behind like a property in a non-ironic way of this quality in a very long time, at least since social media came around. Everything's always been just like ironic or like, not appreciated.
Yeah, and I would say for myself, when I was watching this, I sort of went through the mindset of putting myself back in the 90s, if that makes sense, right? And like thinking about what TV was happening at that period of time. And when it came to the 90s, there was a ton of male-led shows, right? It was almost all male-led shows. And then if you did have a female, in many instances, it might have been a co-lead, but it was most of the time male dependent, right? Like, or depending on this human being or oh, they have a love interest, so that's the Rich, we talked about this last week with Suits, like, oh, if there's a man and a woman in a room, well, they have to be in love with each other, or we're fucked. But I love a show like this that has a strong female lead, and this was a first for its time, really, in all honesty, like, especially in the 90s, having this strong female lead who was kicking ass, who wasn't thinking about men. Like, this show passes the Bechdel test, fucking for sure. Like, almost every scene does, in all honesty. And that's refreshing as hell.
Sure.
And the other thing I do have to call out is, like, I know we made fun of the bagpipes, but Joseph Lodica was the person who did all of the music for this show. And he worked very closely with Sam Raimi. On things like The Evil Dead and doing all the music and stuff like that. And there were moments where, like, the music for this, I was like, okay, yeah, it doesn't fit ancient Greece, but these are some bangers. Like, I would definitely be, like, zoning out in my office, like, listening to some of this music as a whole. But that said, let's talk about wait a minute moments. I would like to open the floor to you two gentlemen to talk about what were some wait a minute moments for you?
Yeah, and Geoff, just to your point, like, obviously all that is true and correct. There is such a nostalgia for these 90s goofball shows. But to the music point, my wait a minute moment goes to these little minor key steps that we keep hearing that are the exact same ones that were used in this year's May December. And I was like, oh, okay, now I get May December. Okay, I get what they're going for. I get the melodrama. Okay, this makes sense. It's camp. Perfect.
Rich, what about you?
Oh God. I mean, it's just so hard to get past the accents, man. I know maybe it's just like something dumb in Americans' brains that we instantly think that anything with a British accent in English is, like, inherently smarter, like, more dramatic or better. I mean, it's one of the reasons. The most confusing thing about the Chernobyl show is that, like, everyone only speaks in a British accent, but everyone's clearly in Russia or Ukraine. I can't remember.
Well, those were the effects of the radiation.
Yeah, no, you can't blame those people for that, Rich. That's rude. They didn't ask to be.
Yeah, it stripped their larynxes of their accents.
Yeah, they have no more phlegm anymore. That's just how that works.
But I mean, like, knowing that this show takes place in New Zealand, like, even letting people have a New Zealand accent would be better than letting just everyone keep their regional American accent. Like, there's no alteration at all. I don't know if Lucy Lawless speaks naturally with the New Zealand accent. I haven't heard her talk, like, in an interview or anything like that. But, like, everyone sounds like they're from New Jersey. What are they doing?
And for myself, there was one. So I will say the Xena costume in this show it's iconic, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually in the Smithsonian Museum right now. Yeah, Lucy Lawless donated it to the Smithsonian. I found that out in my research. But with all of that detail in that costume, in Draco's costume, the headwear and hair choices of this show are an entirely different episode of this podcast. I have 1,000,001 questions, including why is everyone wearing a bandana? They don't need those. Why does one man somehow he is balding yet has spikes that start in the dead center of his hair and then splay out into a mullet? That was was truly amazing.
It was the 90s, man. We were extreme.
Yeah, the 90s representing ancient Greece. There was so much hair product that existed in this show that did not exist in this time period that I just have to ask why. But that is not the only question that I have, because I have an in-flight question for you two that came to me. And that was very simply, Lucy Lawless and Xena became sexual icons in the LGBTQ plus community because of this show. Who or what was your sexual awakening?
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely not. I know people who listen to this.
Oh, come on. Have some fun with it.
Oh, God.
Rich,
90s?
come on. You strike me as a Lola Bunny guy. Come on.
Oh, wow. Oh, who wasn't? Everyone was everyone, man and woman, everyone was a Lola Bunny guy. I would say because we were the same age, Hermione from the Harry Potter series was a good one for me.
That's very sweet. And it doesn't need to be a sexual awakening. It could just be your
Like
first crush from TV.
Sure.
Max, what about you?
Oh man. I mean, if I think about like early celebrity crushes from like preteen years, like definitely like I would definitely say like Lindsay Lohan was someone that I had like a huge like preteen boy crush on, but to the point of just like I just gotta tell a story because the Lola Bunny thing really bothered me. So on this show, despite us telling you where you can find the shows, we do support physical media. We do support physical media. DVDs are a good thing. I remember buying a DVD set of King of the Hill when I was a kid, and we were checking out at the counter, and the guy who was bagging was like, "Oh man, that Luann's really something, huh? Oh man, that Luann's really something." And the other guy, in a voice I'll never forget, goes, "Just a cartoon, Dave."
Dave needs to be on a watch list. What the fuck?
Dave's doing great right now. Dave, if you're a listener, thanks for listening.
Yeah, Dave, come on the pod and do King of the Hill.
No. Oh, God.
And for myself, I will honestly say, Lizzie McGuire. I was a Disney kid. Lizzie McGuire.
None of us actually did the question correct and said a 90s icon.
Okay, if we want to do a 90s
Harry Potter movie,
yeah, Harry Potter came out in the 2000s. Rich,
it did?
Yeah. But if we're gonna do a 90s icon, I will say Pocahontas. In this instance, I watched that movie maybe a few too many times as a child. But with that being said.
Weird that Geoff keeps defaulting to cartoon characters.
Yeah, you know what? Leave me alone.
Just a cartoon, Geoff.
But thank you so much.
Geoff, come on the pod, do King of the Hill.
Oh my God. Well, that is our in-flight question. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the show. There were 6 seasons of the show and 134 episodes. We talked a little bit about it. This show was syndicated. There was no home network. It was on a ton of different channels, very similar to how Hercules was also a syndicated TV show. But the thing about being syndicated that Max sort of like nodded at is because you're on TV so much, there's an opportunity to rate really, really well. And what I did was I just looked at syndicated shows in this instance, not comparing it to all of TV, and found that this show over its 6 seasons ranked no lower than 13th amongst all syndicated shows.
Whoa.
Now, here's the wildest part. For two straight years, it rated as the number 2 syndicated TV show on all of television, which is wild. Like that is nothing.
What else is on that list? What was it going up against?
Well, that would be like daytime talk shows, like daytime reality,
game
like
shows.
Judge Judy, game shows.
Yeah,
Okay.
So you're going up against some heavyweights. Like, yeah, exactly.
You're going up with Jerry Springer in the 90s, and you're the number 2 syndicated show.
Xena, Cincinnati Princess.
We would take her proudly in Cincinnati.
Xena from Cincinnati.
God,
yes.
Also, now that you said that, can I thank the one person who went out? We posted this our Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode on Reddit, and to like a really nice outpouring of people like coming in and listening to that episode. But one person went through and listened to the John from Cincinnati episode, which no one has listened to that one in like almost a full year, and someone like went out of their way to find it. Whoever that person is, please reach out to us. I need to send you a DVD.
Jeff, we got a raffle for you.
So, as far as hard media goes, because we do promote, buying DVDs, VHSs, there were all of those, right? There were VHSs for the show. There were DVDs for the shows, comic books, card games, multiple video games. And then, have you ever had that moment where like a memory is unlocked from your childhood? Because I realized that there was a animated movie starring for Hercules and Xena. It was a crossover that had a theater debut, but then was sent.
It was a re-crossover. It was an uncrossed over.
Yeah,
and then
it was uncrossed
over.
over. They came back together. It was called Hercules and Xena, The Battle for Mount Olympus.
Okay.
And I remember watching that movie multiple times, and now I am on a mission to find a copy of it, to rewatch it, to relive a little bit of my childhood.
Oh man, Jeff, I'm looking up screen grabs from the PlayStation 1 Xena Warrior Princess video game, and I would play the shit out of this.
Oh, hell yeah.
I can't wait.
It has some Tomb Raider vibes.
I bet you can find it on Steam, in all honesty. As far as the music, I talked about how much I enjoyed it, but when it came to the show and award nominations, it was a little bit of a powerhouse. So this show officially had 14 award nominations and won 7 of them. That included 7 Emmy nominations for this show, and it also brought home the Emmy for Outstanding Music Composition for a Series. Of all of those 14 nominations for awards, 12 of them were by Joseph Loduca. And then 6 of the 7 wins were also by him. They also won a award in New Zealand for local costuming. So, that's awesome. So a couple other things. We did touch on like the impact that this show did have for the LGBTQ plus community. Lawless has gone on record of saying how important this character was, even though it was not written that she was married to Gabrielle in the show. She firmly believes it. And there are a multitude of much better written articles on the importance of this character to that community that I highly implore you to go and find. But I do want to say there have been multiple attempts to reboot this show, including a live action movie, both of which people are dying for Lucy Lawless to, put back on the all leather costume. In 2015, there was a NBC tapped Javier Gray Marxwatch to help produce and make this. He may sound familiar. He was involved in Charm, Law and Order SVU, as well as the first 2 seasons of Lost. But due to creative differences, aka the studio not letting him tell his story, he dropped out in 2017 and the project got canned. So who knows? Maybe the history of Xena is not done quite yet. But Rich, it is now time for your Game of the Week.
Yeah, all right. It is the Game of the Week, and we're talking about some other warrior princesses. Some real, some fake, some who knows. All right. First question. I'll let you guys both just jump in on these. After her husband's death, the privateer Zhang Yi Sao took command of his piracy fleet and grew it so massively that she, at the time of her surrender, had an estimated 60,000 pirate soldier army and near total control of China. Once she was captured and pardoned, she then did what? A, opened a restaurant. B, opened a brothel. C, became a farmer. D, opened a casino.
I'm going to go brothel.
Brothel makes the most sense, but I want to go with casino. Let's go with the other vice.
So technically you're both right. However, she did the casino after she was pardoned. She ran a brothel beforehand.
The brothel to pirate to casino operator.
Yeah, that pipeline. It's very well known.
That was my major at Kelly. The movie Mulan is a dramatized story about the warrior Hua Mulan, a woman who disguises herself as a man to enlist in the 6th century Chinese army. Was the original story of Hua Mulan fictional or true?
I believe it's true, but there's a lot of stuff that people are upset about how the Disney movie was written.
And I want a chance to get it right and Geoff to get it wrong, so I'm going to say fictional.
It is widely believed that it is fictional. It is not true. It is mostly mythology. And the last one, Prudence Wright was a leader of a women's militia during the Revolutionary War. She has the distinction of from what heroic act from the war? A, she stopped a British invasion into what eventually became the state of Maine. B, she provided the horse for Paul Revere's famous ride. C, she seized British traders from giving away battle plans in Boston.
I'm going C, seizing British traders.
Yeah, I'll go with C as well.
That is correct. And two of them were her brothers, and that's how she ended up finding out that they were giving away battle plan secrets to the British. So they stopped them on their
you two fucking jamokes. You're going around blabbing to everyone. You're going to go tell the king? You're going to tell your buddy the king? Ah, fuck you.
No. Max, you have to do that in an accurate accent, which is a Irish accent, because, that's how we do these shows now. Rich, genuinely surprised you did not do a Joan of Arc question. I'm just going to put that out there.
You know what? There is not really much about it that I think would be a surprise to you guys.
And not a single question about Patti Smith's The Warrior?
Or the 1982 movie about the Odyssey of the Warriors?
Oh my God. Well, Rich, thank you for your game of the week. Our flight is almost coming to a land, gentlemen, so I have 2 questions for you. One is, based off of the pilot, would you continue watching this show? Maybe it shows up on syndication today and you're sitting by that TV. And 2, there have been a couple of attempts to get Lucy Lawless back into this character. Do you think that a version of this show should potentially be rebooted, or if maybe a version of this show can exist on TV today? Max, what are you thinking?
I appreciate the contributions to 90s pop culture and the enduring legacy of this show. Without the success of Xena Warrior Princess, Rob Tapert does not get to make young Hercules, and we do not get Ryan Gosling. He's very important to film and TV's legacy. I would personally not continue to watch the show. There's just something about it that just isn't for me. I had fun watching it, but between the action cuts and the dialogue and everything else, I'm just going to chalk it up to I had a fun time. As for it getting made today, unfortunately, kind of going back to my peak TV ruined everything. I don't see a way that you make this show and a network doesn't try to turn it into Game of Thrones light. And I don't need something heavy and dark and saturated. I need it to be light and bright and goofy, and I just don't see that happening. So let it be a fun 90s relic. If you're into this, it's all out there for you to consume. Go take advantage of that, but I don't think it's coming back or needs to.
Rich, what about you?
That's a very good point. I personally, I'm not watching another episode of this particular form of Xena. I do not think that the acting is up to a quality where it can really hold my attention.
What if you watch it earlier?
Yeah. Did you? What if you watch it first thing in the morning?
No, it's not gonna suddenly become better acting depending on when I watch it, unless I'm on some particular type of drug that makes me not care. I really do love that the fandom of this is so massive. I really, Lucy Lawless, obviously a great actress, and she was also in essentially what would be considered a dark Xena Warrior Princess, and that she was in the Spartacus series. I would say it would be difficult to get this made today where it wouldn't be, like Max said, Game of Thrones light, but also aggressively sexual or, I would love to see it maybe emphasize more on the gay superhero aspect of it. That would be fun to explore more on, but I really do not think the quality of this show from the 90s really holds up at all for what we're used to now.
Yeah, and for myself, I think we've all been speaking about the importance of this show, right? And that does not, by us not saying we're going to not continue watching it, that does not mean that we don't find that this show had an important moment in pop culture history. But as far as me watching more of this show, I have this show in a very specific category in my mind, which is shows that if they were on at a barcade, I would 100% catch a glimpse and watch a few scenes of and be like, oh, fuck yeah. They have Xena on the TVs. It's like sort of like when you see like Toxic Avenger on the TV and you're like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, Labyrinth falls into that category too, where it is nostalgia. It is, yes, I can sit down, I can watch a fight scene, and I can really appreciate what that was. But it's not something that I'm going to be going out of my way, because there's a ton on Amazon Prime where you can find this and watch every single episode of it, if that is your jam. As far as rebooting this show, I think that there's been enough of a effort and appetite for female-led action series that we're seeing more of that. So there's not really a need for this today. But I would be very excited if someone took the effort to do it right, to do a updated version with great costume, put in the money, because this would be very expensive to make too. That's the terrifying thing of it, is if you're a studio and you're approached by this is going to cost a lot of money. But if you're willing to invest the money and do it right, hell yeah. Let's fucking go. And I will root for it as hard as I fucking can to be a success.
Yeah. I think it laid the framework for those shows. Like I'm sure shows like WandaVision or something like that like owe a lot to Xena and stuff for setting that, for like making people want that type of content. But ultimately, yeah, I 100% agree.
But with that said, Rich, you mentioned Spartacus, which is a fucking kick-ass show, and we'll have to do that sometime in the future for this podcast, because I think that it would be a great fit. With all of that said, though, our flight to ancient Greece has come to a land. But before we go, I would love to tell folks where we can find you two gentlemen.
You can catch me buying a PS1 on eBay so I can play the Xena Warrior Princess video game, and on all things social media at MaxwellSing.
You can find me eating some hot horse cheese, and also on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and I on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
And you can find me teaching Rich how to say "ololate." But also, if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, as well as social media at TV Pilot's License. If you're a fan of the show and want to shoot us an email, feel free to give us a call to, if you want to shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense@gmail.com. You can also give us a call to our voicemail line, which we share, but it is also 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out on social media. We like to give sneak previews of some of the shows that we have coming up, and opportunities also to submit an in-flight question if you have one. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. And until then, no deal. Kill him.
Yes, I knew it.